the right time when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous man, though for a good man someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates His own love for us in this:
while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Since we have now been justified by His blood, how much more shall we be saved by God's wrath
through Him? For if, when we were God's enemies, we were reconciled to Him through the death of His Son, how much more, having been reconciled, shall we be saved through His life? Not only is this so, but we also rejoice in God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have now received reconciliation. Okay, now we are doing hyperbolas on lesson 78, and hyperbolas are a lot of fun. They are a lot like ellipses in how they're cut out.
Oh my God.
Okay, but notice that if this had a plus sign in the middle, it would be an ellipse instead of a hyperbola. Okay, so just like we did with an ellipse, remember we went, since this is y squared, we went up 2 and down 2. We went left 5 and right 5. We're going to do the same thing with the hyperbola, but now we're going to make a box, okay? And the hyperbola is a little different. We're going to go up 2 and down 2 to make our box, down 2 to make our box. We're going to go right 5 and left 5 to make our box. And then we're going to make our box. And our box is a rectangle that goes through there. Okay? Now, then, it's not, no, this is not an ellipse. This has got a minus. This is going to be a hyperbola. And hyperbolas go like this or like this. Okay, those are hyperbolas. That's what they look like. But we're going to use the box to help us orient our hyperbola. Okay, now, since this is the positive one, our hyperbola is going to be positive on the y-axis, and it's going to be real on the y-axis. Over here, it's going to be imaginary on the x-axis. So this parabola should go up and down instead of left and right. Okay, I'm doing one of the examples in the book. I think it's the second one. All right. So now that I've got that, then, so the first thing is draw your box. The next thing you have to do is draw your asymptotes. Okay, and our asymptotes are going to go through the corners of the box. They are lines that go through, well, in a perfect world, they're really lines. They're not curves. Okay, they look a little curved there. Okay, but then, since I've got these asymptotes, I have to name these asymptotes because you will be asked what the asymptote is.
I have names.
So, I've got my asymptotes, and my asymptote is going to be, this line is going to be y is mx plus b. But my b is going right through 0, 0, right? So it's, yes?
There's no vowels. So it can't be a name. No
okay, so then this one right here, what is this point right here? 5, 2. So what is my slope of my line? If this is 0, 0, then I'm going what? Up 2 over 5. So my slope is 2/5. And then this slope is just what? Negative 2/5. So I have to name my two asymptotes. Okay? After I've got my asymptotes named, my hyperbola is going to start there on the end of the box, but it's going to go y up and down. Then it's going to flow towards the asymptote and towards the asymptotes. It's going to have a vertex there, and it's going to flow towards the asymptotes and towards the asymptotes. It will never touch the asymptote. It's an asymptote just like a vertical or horizontal. We can't touch it. We approach it. Okay. Now, if I had my x squared in front, where would my parabola be going?
To the
This
side.
way, right? It would be going left and right. Okay, everybody look at your book. And let's look and make sure that Mrs. A got this right, because I haven't done hyperbolas in a while. Okay, they're showing that we have our asymptotes there. And notice that they're showing you up here on the top. Everybody look at the top, because this is what I was talking about. 477 right there on the top, where it's talking about your y squared. When you end up solving for this, if you were going to find your x and y intercepts, remember to find your x and y intercepts. If you let x be 0, you find your y-intercept. If you let y be 0, you find your x-intercept. They're doing that, and they're showing, hey guys, your x-intercept is imaginary. Therefore, it's not there. Your y-intercept is plus or minus 2. So that's the real part of the graph. Your x-intercept is imaginary, which means it doesn't exist in the real plane, and that's why the parabola goes up and down instead of left and right. Okay, so let's look at this one. Who had a question? Zach.
So if the x is in the front, then it goes this way.
Yes.
Front and goes up.
Absolutely. Okay, so that first term is defining which one is your real axis, okay, of orientation. So here, this is another parabola. How do I know? I mean hyperbola. How do I know it's a hyperbola?
Because it's there.
Okay, I have two squared terms, and I have a minus in between them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is going to be what kind of orientation? Okay, it's going to be what? Y-axis, right? Because the y squared is positive and the x squared is negative. All right, so it's going to look a lot like that one, but it's going to have a different axis. Now, we don't have it in the standard form. This is the general form. Remember, general forms have a 0 at the end. We're going to get it in the standard form. 4y squared minus 9x squared equals 36. Now, I need a 1 over there for it to be in its standard form, right? So I'm going to divide by 1. I'm divide by 36.
That's right.
Divide by 36. Divide by 36. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, what is this when I reduce it? Y squared over 9 minus x squared over 4 equals 1.
How did you do
So
that?
when I go about doing this one and starting the box here, okay, I'm going to have up and down 3. I'm going to have, I got to go down. I'm going to have left and right 4.
Like my women.
Excuse me. I was thinking it, but I wasn't doing it. Okay, and then I'm going to make my box.
Box.
So we make the box. And a lot of times they just make the box dotted. The box can be dotted. It doesn't have to be solid. But then I'm going to do my asymptotes. So here we go. We're still moving right through 0, 0. Now in another lesson, and usually the asymptotes are dotted too, right? The asymptotes are dotted. When we're in another section, we will displace this just like we displaced our circles and our ellipses. We'll move it to where we have a little bit more complicated formula. But right now, it's still at the origin. So this one is going to be y is, since it's going through 0, 0, there's no b again. So we got y is mx, and our slope is going to be, what was this point?
2.
This point was 2, 3, right? That point is 2, 3, so my slope is 3 over 2, okay? So 3 over 2, and then this negative 1 is, y is negative 3 over 2, so those are my two asymptotes. And then, since it is going vertically, it's going to have its vertex right there at the edge of the box, right? And then it's going to be going towards those asymptotes in that direction, okay? So since my slope was higher, my parabola is a little my hyperbola is a little sharper than it was over here. Okay, my hyperbola is sharper. Okay, so did we get those right? That one is correct. Any questions on basic hyperbolas? No. Those are a lot of fun. Okay, everybody look at. Now I tell you what, we're going to go ahead since we got hyperbolas. That's